Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Plug you in, my tuning up frequency. Jett and the crew, they got the remedy. Discussing bats and all his legacy. Mike is silent. Welcome to the social hour. We're talking gospel, flying power. Look in the field of protest, got the keys to the Batmobile. Lights go down the shelves about to start. Just listen, sucking like a dog. We're down the ways of hard. We're in deep, not sleep. Welcome to the social hour, exploring Gotham's darkest hours. Tune in, feel the charge. Jett set the hill with going large.
Welcome to the social hour. Sorry about that, y'all. Welcome to the social hour, Batman on Film podcast. Something funny just happened. Anyway. Welcome to the social hour, Batman on Film podcast, batman-on-film.com. This is episode number 185. I am the founder of Batman on Film, Bill Ramey. Ryan Lauer, let's ride.
Let's ride. Let's be serious. That's what you were thinking about, and you started laughing. We're gonna get out. Let's ride.
Yeah.
Let's ride. Inspired by you and Peter Vera. So thank you both of you.
Yeah.
Let's ride.
When's the last time you've been on the social hours? Been a couple weeks.
Oh my man.
We did
What did we talk about?
Batman stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was a stretch. It was a outlier episode. But...
Well, okay. Well, fortunately, I have the Batman-on-film.com podcast pulled up on the computer, and I'm looking, and I think it was the absolute Batman #1 discussion.
Yeah.
With old Boudin Pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
last
last
3 or
month.
4 weeks ago. Yeah.
I haven't read issue 2 yet. It's not out, but
you gotta read it.
I haven't read it yet. You have, and you were like, read it and let me know what you think. So
I did.
I don't know what that means. Well,
I was wanting some feedback. Want to talk about it.
Well, let me ask you then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Batman 154. You don't have to spoil it. My review is up on Batman on Film proper. What did you think of that issue? Spoiler free. It can be quick.
I'm not getting. I'm not feeling very much different from how I was feeling before about Batman, the title.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I am conflicted, as my review says, because I think that there are some good Batman things in the issue. And then there are some, I think, odd choices and some annoyances also mixed in.
Yeah.
Which has been, I think, a lot of this run anyway. For a while, the annoyances there were more of those than the Batman doing Batman things.
Yeah.
And then this, I tried to word it concisely in the review, but it's like there's two things that have been around for a while that are really obnoxious, and it's between creators and fans of the whole, well, if Bruce Wayne would help out the city with his money instead of beating up the criminals, which is total BS and it's ridiculous. But then also this thing of like on a mission to try and muck up the Wayne family name. I don't know why that's become an obsession as well. And there's like Zdarsky's alleging that to like the mess with the purity of Thomas and Martha Wayne. And I'm just, I just don't understand why that's such a goal right now. Tom Taylor, for his first issue of Detective was really good last month, and they said like changing Batman's origin or whatever. I would flat out argue against that based on that issue. That didn't change an origin thing at all. And I'm relieved that it wasn't mucking up Thomas Wayne there. And I hope that, this arc doesn't do that either. But this one I think is just a little more prevalent of like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why that is happening. I don't get it.
I'm not particularly, I wouldn't be in favor of like making the Wayne family out to be corrupt or assholes or anything like that.
Yeah.
But also making them a little more human with maybe some faults, doesn't bother me that much. Like a good example is in the Batman. They lead you to believe that he wasn't a very good person, and then then we get set straight by Alfred. Now you listen to me. He was a good man.
He was a good man.
Yeah, that was a horrible British accent on my part, but I didn't mind. I thought that was done pretty well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because people do make mistakes in life. But yeah, I'm with you. There's like, it's kind of getting to be a trope that's it's getting to be
Yeah, a
kind of
trope.
old. It keeps coming back. It's done. And then
I'm not saying that like people can't like obviously come up with stories, and if Batman's been around 85 years, like yeah, it could be hard, but like also to me, Jeff Loeb slipped right back into the Long Halloween, writing classic Batman fit like a glove. So
yeah,
obviously it's not that hard to write Batman doing Batman things. Um, I think this like Thomas and Martha Wayne, a 1% couple that are 100% pure and good, is just flat out the strongest part of like creation of Batman. It has like the best elements of taken out by the people they were trying to help, how that affects Bruce, why it's so important, all that. It's like I'm not interested in, well, actually, they did do something naughty. I'm just not interested in that.
yeah.
But we'll see.
I,
It's issue
the
two of I
the
don't know how many issue arc.
the Batman story. Did that didn't
I
bother
was
you? I mean, yeah.
It didn't. I
I
was
mean,
worried.
we went through we did the chapter by chapters with the Batman. Check those out. We really
Yeah.
break down the Batman in that podcast series.
We talked what, like an hour over 5 minutes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it. Challenge accepted. But anyways,
Well, speaking of the Batman, this is going to be a very heavily focused episode on the Batman saga. First of all, I want to, since you have not, for whatever reason, schedule, whatever, you have not talked about the Penguin on any of these social hours. It's been me and Pete Vera, Boot and Pockets. So I'm letting you have the floor here.
oh my goodness,
Have you enjoyed the Penguin?
pressure.
What's your
I do
thoughts?
enjoy the Penguin.
I mean, spoiler. Talk freely. We've had 7 episodes. I've broke them down with podcasts with Pete, and then I do a little short written review. I haven't given any episode lower than A minus. I don't think. I absolutely think it's fantastic. It exceeded I had a high expectations for it, and it exceeded those. I didn't think it was going to be this good.
I had expectations in check. I think it's damn good. Um, this last episode I thought was good, but I guess if you had to rank each episode in order, I think this would be towards the lower half for me. That sounds negative. It's not meant to be negative. I think that like a lot of the other ones have had stronger, I don't know, a lot like I've been invested a little bit more, but I like this episode. But I think as a whole, it's gonna be really it's gonna be fun to rewatch. I already told you that I'm gonna do when it's done, I'm gonna watch the Batman and then watch all 8 episodes of this. And I look forward to that, to picking up on some things that maybe missed the first time to, rewatching episode 1 and knowing like, oh yeah, like this is gonna connect to that down the road. This is gonna fit in here. Like that's gonna be fun to watch. I have no predictions about episode 8
Oh, I was gonna. Well, that's on my list.
because
I'm gonna ask you
I couldn't predict a damn thing on this show
how.
except that Oz is gonna live. That's the only thing that
Yeah,
I am confident in saying.
how many WTF didn't see that coming at all moments have you had watching this series so far and through the first 7 episodes?
I mean,
Because it started with me right, what, 5-10 minutes into episode 1 when Oz just shoots and kills Alberto Falcone. Boom, kills him right there.
I've had a handful. Not as in like what? I do feel like when some things are coming, they're you're getting a little tip off, like it builds up to the moment that you so
Mm-hmm.
Alberto, as he's, in that opening scene, as he is starting to unload on Oz and it's cutting back to him, my mind starts working of like they've kept Alberto out of promos for this. This is all that we've seen. We saw this in the first teaser. He's sitting in that chair shooting and then does he's going to shirt up and then he shoots Alberto, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
you're, you're smiling, snap of a finger. You're like WTF. With the brothers in the last episode, it's slowly building to what he's going to do. Granted, not like, 10-minute heads up or anything like that. So it's like, it doesn't do a massive out of nowhere. Holy shit. But it is like, oh, I would not have predicted that 3 minutes before it happened. I think it's well written. I think it's well acted. I definitely think Melody as Sophia has been, I think she's exceeded expectations more than anything else. And
Yeah.
I wasn't like, I didn't have low expectations or anything like that.
I just wasn't
It was,
familiar with her very much going into
yeah,
this.
because she's very, her as an actress. Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the character of Sophia is so limited as far as what she's been in, comic wise. And yet still she made an impression. And so then they, the comic version you see of Sophia is, I've commented before of like she's this big intimidating presence, and then who they cast to play her is like a small happy kind of person. It's like, huh, how are they going to do this? And I think that just she matched it very well. And then of course Colin Farrell, we already knew what he could do as Penguin. So he is like, and he's awesome. The kid playing Victor, I say kid, he's an adult. He's been really, really good too. So, yeah, there's been some, yeah, I mean, back to what you said, some surprises with Johnny Vitti. What you said to Pete, Bill, I'm with you. I completely thought it too, because that I live and breathe the Long Halloween. When Maroney died, I was like, well, he's not going to turn Harvey into Two-Face. So it's like, okay, Harvey Dent, how's he going to become Two-Face? We'll see. I have no predictions though. For you put one in the face. So it's funny how you and I can be on the same wavelength sometimes, because I thought about that too. There's so much talk of like Batman needs to show up, and like,
okay, that's where I was going with that. Yeah,
you tell me there's this big bomb blast going off in Gotham, and Batman's not going to show up, and I saw a bunch of that online, and I'm like, number one, that happened at the end of the episode. So one, you're not even giving them the opportunity to tell you if Batman shows up at that site or not. 2, it's during the day. 3, like you said with Pete in the last social hour, we're with Oz. Oz is being taken away from there. So maybe Batman does show up that night to, the blast site, but Oz isn't there and we're following Oz. It's also called the Penguin. Like, I'm not sitting here acting as if like, where's Batman? Where's Batman? Because it's called the Penguin. That said, like, if he shows up in some regard, of course I'd love it.
Yeah.
I trust Lauren LeFranc and how she wants to do anything. If he shows up in some way, he's not going to take over and hijack the finale or anything like that. And then I thought too of like, well, what's a way that could be like a great uplift, like not uplift, but think of the end of the Batman. It's like Batman, he's
Mm-hmm.
riding
I
off and
get,
it has,
yeah.
the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a moment like that to end the Penguin series? And I was like, I'm not going to sit there and say I know exactly, but kind of what you posted
Mm-hmm.
um in the Facebook group, which was like Oz has reached his goal,
Mm-hmm.
and looking out a window or up in the sky or something, the bat signal goes on.
I would think of, I just, and I'm doing fan fiction. I get it. And I'm a
Sure.
big proponent of let creatives create, fans fan, I say that, but it's still fun to talk about every once in a while. I can see because we've had that, that shot of him from the Batman after Carmine is killed by the Riddler, and he's up in the office, penthouse office, way above the club, and that was Carmine's, and he's out overlooking the city.
Yeah.
Um, and now he does it again where he is the top dog, and then bat signal lights up, and he's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
forgot about this, And I think Colin Farrell said it well. He said, "Yeah, we may have shot scenes where, it was like, okay, in his head, which you don't hear. We don't have thought bubbles,
Mhm.
in live action television or movies. Guess you could if you wanted, whatever. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't hear the inner dialogue unless you have a voiceover or whatever. But you don't hear see Colin Farrell going, I wonder where the Batman is all throughout this series. He said he's got, but he said, I'm sure he thought at one point about where's, is Batman going to show up? But he said he's got so much shit going on that
Yeah.
he's not even thinking about the bat. It's all from his, look, this has been a freaking snowball of events,
Mm-hmm.
starting with episode 1. And I mean, it hasn't slowed down. And I just don't get this almost disappointment in the Penguin because Batman hasn't been in it. And I'm like, or he hasn't been mentioned. And I'm like, okay, do you want them constantly say, okay, but where's Batman? I mean, that would
Yeah.
it would be, that's not good writing. That's not good. And here's another thing, because there's this argument. Why make a Batman series without Batman? Well, the Penguin's so damn good, it doesn't need Batman to prop it up. I honestly think at this point, if there's a Batman scene in the Penguin with Rob Pattinson, it would almost come off as, I'm not saying to be disappointed, but there's a little bit part of me would go, maybe didn't need that. That's kind of fan service. This has been so good.
But with how much you've enjoyed the series and trusted the
Yeah.
team, wouldn't you trust that if they included him, that it's a good reason?
Oh yeah, I would absolutely, and I said as
Yeah.
much when I wrote that op-ed on Batman on Film. I don't. I think beating a dead horse of, oh, I'm doing this, but and I'm looking over, where's Batman constantly in every episode would become tired and silly. It would be silly. It
I
would
think
take me completely out of the story.
people not understanding by mentioning what's not there. It's like you are in a way impressioning the audience
Mm-hmm.
that they should be disappointed because we're reminding you of what you're not seeing.
Well, and they
And it's
would.
like, well, so why would they do that? They wouldn't do that. And so yeah, like I'm not sitting here wishing of like, I really hope Batman shows up. I hope he shows up because it's
Yeah,
like, I just want to watch the show. I want to see how it
yeah,
ends. And if he shows up, you and I said this, before the series even launched, of kind of like when they said that Robert Pattinson is not in the Penguin. And we were like, I feel like they covered their ass both ways. if he does show up, we aren't going to know beforehand, which is how you and I would want to find out as we're sitting and watching it.
hmm
I don't want to know
Yeah,
anything about if and then if he doesn't show up, then we told you he wasn't in it,
yeah.
which is also good. It's like to try and wipe your mind off of, Batman off your brain while watching Penguin. Some people say, but Penguin, blah, 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 blah.
I mean,
I just like the show.
you know good and well as I do, Ryan, that if Batman had shown up a few times already, if he had been mentioned, like, well, we got this, we're making this bliss here, and but be careful, Batman's out here, and it was some kind of that kind of thing, and almost every episode with a mention, people would then say, "See, you didn't. Why'd you make the Penguin?" But you kept, having to remind people this is a Batman story, and it's in Batman, just beating a dead horse with Batman and beating it over the head, Batman this, Batman that. And then they would criticize that because that's what some people just do. They find negatives. And
They
look,
they should have just introduced Robin.
yeah, just right out hey, you know what? Maybe Vic turns out to be Robin in the
There
Batman.
you go.
There. Now you're talking.
Don't tell me that Robin wouldn't work. You see Penguin and
Yeah.
Vic's relationship, Bill.
Yeah, Batman saves Vic, and kind of it's kind of like Jason Todd and gets him off the street, and sets him on the straight and narrow, and comes Robin anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll admit when they announced the Penguin, I went, my first thought was, oh, Rob Pattinson shows up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
He loves Batman. He's into it. He would do it in a second. And that's me fanning, right?
Mm-hmm.
I let the creatives create. And they just made a series that is so good that stands on its own because of Kristen Milioti and Colin Farrell and Clancy Brown and all the other characters, in it. It's just it doesn't need it. And aren't you watching it? It's kind of like two things at the same time. It doesn't need Batman because it's so good, but you're watching it. He's out there.
Yeah.
As both Matt Reeves and Lauren LaFranc have said, he's like his vibe is, his specter is still hovering over everything in the city. Batman sees everything from above, sees the city from up above.
Yeah.
Penguin's down on the street. So no, I don't have any big deal. And I'll have to throw out a bless your heart if you're disappointed and you in the Penguin, and you think it's lacking because of no mention of Batman and Batman, bless your heart. I'm sorry. I loved it. And how would they even explain why he doesn't? Why would we have to have it explained why he doesn't? Why he hasn't shown up? I mean, are they going to put like a disclaimer? Batman's not in this scene because he's currently in another part of town fighting a street gang. I mean,
Well, I think it'd come out too that this series, they were, in a way they were going to try or they were inserting this into the Batman Part 2. And by having the HBO series, they were allowed to, take it out of that. And it's like, so then the Batman Part 2, it's like part of its focus would have been shifted off of Batman and onto Penguin in that regard, I think. And so I don't know. I think it's a good series, good character development. Yes, it's a spinoff in the Batman, epic crime saga. But it's just building for this overall story. So I don't know. People can have their own opinions, and I may disagree with some, may agree with some, whatever. It's good stuff. It's good TV.
Other than the Batman, the 60s Batman series, is this the best Batman related Batman universe television show we've ever had?
I mean, I don't even know what else we have. Gotham.
Gotham.
Somewhere Pete just
Birds
threw
of
up.
Prey. What
Yeah,
was it?
and
Titans, Gotham Knights. I mean,
I think
Batwoman.
Titans was the only one probably that got I feel like maybe got the money, whereas I don't know, maybe Gotham got. What I'm trying to say is like HBO TV is elevated material, so therefore it's
Yeah,
pricier.
yeah.
And none of the other shows you just listed got that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to take that part out of it
Yeah,
though,
take that equation out.
by far
Yes.
leaps and bounds above the other stuff.
You put it over Batman, the 60 series?
It's kind of unfair
I think so
because the
too.
60 series had 120 episodes,
Yeah.
and somebody could say, well, that third season, oof. And it's like, yeah, but they had two seasons that equaled like what is 80 episodes, 90 episodes, something like that. Like they had a lot of material where it fits right in with the movie. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say that they're both of them thus far like equally match their movie counterpart.
Okay, I'm with you. All right. You have no predictions other than Oz.
Oz
Oz
lives.
is last man standing. Dude,
Yeah,
last man standing. Well, that's
I wouldn't even have Last Man Limping. Oz Cobb.
okay. We've got Oz Cobb, Sal Maroni, Sophia Falcone
Gigante.
Gigante, Vic,
Hmm.
Vic Aguiar, and Francis. Those five main players.
You just mentioned Sal Maroni. He died.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
All right. Hold on now.
Yeah, Hodeon. Hold on.
That's how they say it down there in Texas.
Yeah, hold on. One word.
Hold on.
Hodon.
Yeah.
Those would you say those are the five main characters of this series?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We know the fate of one, right?
Yep.
Salvador Maroni. What'd you
Unless
think
they
about that?
introduced the Lazarus Pit.
Oh no.
And then Maroni's back.
Well, forget about this then.
Forget about it. Forget
about it.
All right, let's stick to reality then. I guess. Okay.
So
Maroni's dead.
Yeah, Maroni's dead. I thought that was pretty brilliant way to take that away from Oz. Take Oz being able to beat him and kill him himself. Take that from Oz was pretty brilliant. You know,
a great element in the character of Oz, I think, is like what you said, took away his build-up moment of taking out Maroni.
Mm-hmm.
That he's kind of so shallow which is also funny because like Maroni's having his heart attack. He's like, "What are you doing? Get up!"
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And then don't dial me, you son of
son of a bitch. But yeah, and then shooting him twice. Like that's I don't know.
Yeah.
Just jumping in on that. Like, yeah, my 2 cents. I thought it was a really good moment building Oz.
Yeah. So we know Sal's fate. So we'd say we probably know Oz's fate. Oz will be the top dog mobster of Gotham when it's all said and done. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you have the three others. You have Francis, Sophia, Vic. Do all three of those bite the dust? I'll make it broad.
Most likely to bite the dust is Francis.
Okay.
Least likely Vic.
Okay.
I don't know how Sophia and Oz coexist.
Okay.
At this point. But I'm even hesitant to say that.
Let me ask you this.
I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. What fate would be worse than death for Sophia? let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor.
Arkham.
I've learned something from this series. There are no toss away scenes or moments. Everything is there for a reason. Remember her visiting cousin Gia in the children's hospital?
Yeah.
Kind of confessed almost. You know, she asked her to, you know, she killed my mom and dad, and she wanted to talk to the police, and you know, and then Sophia tells her, you know, they were bad people. They deserve what they got. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. That's I could see her getting Oz have something to do with getting her sent back to Arkham.
It's funny because the best stories are, I think, are tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to fiction, and that is Sophia's story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still feel like, and I'll just see upon rewatch. I think episode 2 is my favorite episode.
Yeah.
And then right behind it was probably episode 4, which is Sophia's episode where you learn about like her life and how much of a not her fault because she was doing the right thing, confronting the right thing.
Her life
she
got
found
taken
out
away
the right
from her.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then it does turn into some of these stories of like people change because they have to change if they want to survive.
Yeah.
So she had to change in order to
Mm-hmm.
survive. And then it's almost just like it then becomes a tragedy as she was with Gia and kind of realizing after the fact of like she's become like she is doing what her dad did, that she despised her dad
Yeah.
doing. She's
Yeah.
turned into that.
And she
And it's
even
almost
tells
like,
her,
yeah, it's very like it's poetic. It is
yeah,
like it's tragedy. And I'm like, you can't just force that. Like you can strive for it and not always like nail it, but it's like that's where we just say Lauren LaFranc, but she's she's the showrunner. It all
yeah,
goes through her of like that she's managed to do that at a really good pace, and I think has accomplished that goal. That then is like, what's Sophia going to be the last episode?
mm-hmm.
I don't know. We know what Oz is going to be, and so it's like I think they kind of go together of like it's called the Penguin. It's about the Penguin, but they've equally built up to where it's
Mm-hmm.
like a split main character story. You know, it's equally both of their
Yeah, yeah.
stories, which I think they've done really well.
I think I'm just saying that scene with Gia, and she even tells her, you're going to have a new family. Says you're going to get adopted. She doesn't take her.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what would happen to her if she took her, right?
Yeah.
She's like, what, probably her closest living relative, and says, you know, you're gonna have a new family, and they're gonna, you know, you'll be better off than you ever could have been as a Falcone.
Yeah.
You know, but that killing the Falcones, I think, is going to come back, and we know our old friend Mackenzie Bacchus, he's sniffing around that, you know.
And how lovely was that?
Yeah.
It's almost like he leaned into it even more.
If you
I think
if you
than the
heard
movie.
if you heard him speak his real voice,
Mm-hmm.
he's got that
Yeah, I
British
saw
accent, and it's not as hoarse as that, and it's like,
as soon as
wow.
that interview had come out where he talked about like
Yeah.
seeing them soon, and I listened to him and I just laughed and I'm like, you know, I'm sure everybody in your circle is glad you don't talk like Mackenzie Bach, but I'm missing Mackenzie Bach right now.
Yeah. And we know Oz has it's going to still have cops on the tape for him, you know.
Mm.
So I just keep in mind Sophia Arkham and Gia and the whole killing the Falcone family. When it comes to Sophia's fate, Francis. That's the tricky one there.
I think she's gone.
I do
Here's my
too.
prediction. I can't sit and say how or anything
I do
like that.
too.
I think she's gone. what's the one thing that maybe keeps Oz the most human? It's his mother.
Yeah.
And for him to be the most ruthless is to cut off the thing that, you know, that ties him to being to humanity and like being the most like human is be that to where he'll have no F's to give, which is why I also feel like
Yeah.
Vic maybe I don't know if he'll survive either. And
He, yeah.
for some reason he's this thought in my head is as if it's like Oz is gonna have to choose Vic or this ultimate goal, and he's like he wants the ultimate goal. And like if that's what's going to put us
That
over
could
the
come
edge, kind of
down,
like
yeah,
Oz, man,
with Vic. It could, yeah,
son of a
very
bitch.
well. We'll see. Francis, remember the promise that Oz made her.
Yeah.
Adult Oz, not the kid where he promised, and that,
Mhm.
you know, he promised that he was going to give her everything, put her in a penthouse, and then we know when she asked him, "I deserve a good life, right?" You know, because he killed his brother so he could have his mother to himself, essentially.
Weird.
Uh, I'll put it that way. Remember the promise that Oz made his mother,
Mhm.
and what would take away anything that Sophia had over Oz. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He takes away. Well, I'm just leave it at that. I don't want
There
to.
you go.
I credit to. So I had several BOFers. They'll email me about the show, and that was a prediction of some of them. And I've come around to thinking that, oh, what the hell? I think Oz takes out his mother right in front of Sophia. Takes all the power away from her. Takes
Yeah.
everything hanging over his head. And I mean, we're getting to a point where we're really going to dislike Oz, right? We know that as a
Yeah.
kid, he let his brothers drown, almost virtually intentionally, so he could have his mother for himself. Um, he set Sal's wife and son on fire, and him talking about it in that last episode, like you could hear the Greek, like the fat, and but it was that hair, it smelled the burning hair. Oh,
Indirectly, back in the first episode, like a teenage kid was murdered right in front of him because he lied.
yeah,
So that was not him doing it, but he
yeah,
straight up lied, and it was like we're did not verbatim, but it was like we're going to kill him
yeah,
unless you tell us the truth. And he's like, I'm
yeah,
not telling you the truth. Like, okay, well, we're gonna kill him. Kind of responsible for that.
yeah, yeah. Vic that's the tough one I have. I don't know. I think you may be on to something of because he has some affection for Vic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And for
And
Oz to be in the position that we think he's gonna end up in, I think he kind of has to lose like people that he cares for.
it's like,
Because what's more dangerous than that than someone who just does not give an F?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're gonna find out
You're
Sunday
gonna
night.
find out. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
We're gonna find out Sunday. Yep, and I'm ready. I'm ready to see how this thing wraps up, and I'm sad it's wrapping up.
You
It's
have your
been
top hat, umbrella, your monocle.
everything. Yep,
You got your
yeah,
raw fish.
yep,
Okay.
yeah. I even concocted a Jimmy rigged up a umbrella that spins, and it does take me off the ground, maybe about 6 feet. Now I can't be zipping around, all over Texas in my whirly bird umbrella, but yeah,
What if you put a sign outside like your front door that says iceberg, and then like the entrance to the living room, you say Club 44,
yeah,
and you just tell announcer Rachel, be like, "Hey, go outside, enter," and then she goes to the iceberg lounge, and then she goes to the club within the club,
yeah.
and then you guys start the Penguin. Just
Well,
saying,
I could
lean into it.
like go to the front door and knock on it and have her answer, and I go, "You know who I am."
No, I am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All
I
right.
don't
We're
know.
gonna
Have
find
fun.
out. All right. Finish up here. Speaking of the Batman epic crime saga, the Batman saga, whatever you want to call it. We know that Matt Reeves and company are interested in working on additional HBO/Max series that will be part of it. And this rumor, it is rumor, came from a podcast called Marvel Vision Podcast. I have no clue that it existed.
Oh, so you listen to MCU stuff, Bill? Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
All right. My bad. Carry on.
Yeah. Were you familiar with this podcast?
I'm not.
Okay. But the story where I read it from was in World of Real website, which is they're legit. So did some asking around, and I found out one of the hosts of the Marvel Vision podcast is a kind of an OG person in this, genre media, online media business, and has a few skins on the wall. Should I mention who it is?
Sure.
Devin for Rossi. Did I say that right?
Okay.
Faraci. You remember him?
I think I've heard of Faraci, but
Birth, death movies. There were several websites that he was a part of.
yeah, and he has a track record.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, some people don't like him. That's fine. Some people do.
Yeah.
That's fine. But he has a record of credibility, I think, from what I've seen. Not saying he's never been wrong, but I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yes. Mention that because yes, you're correct. He has some skins on the wall. So it's not just this random. And then plus it being with World of Real picking it up. And I did, I said, okay, I'll give it. And then I asked some people. A couple said, I have no idea. Had a couple say, I've heard this is true. And what this is that the next series that will take place between the Batman Part 2 and the Batman Part 3, it will involve Barry Keoghan's Joker, or Unnamed Arkham Inmate at this point. He's not the Joker yet. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, first I saw you post it and you put it in the headline, rumor. But then also I know because, I've followed your website for a long time that you don't just find rumors and put articles about them. So if you're going to post a rumor, it's because you've done the work that
I've vetted it a little bit.
There's talkings about this.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
Legit. I'm not one that is completely. I'm so like all in on Batman with stuff that even if you'd have said, "Hey, do you want a Penguin spinoff comic series?" I'm like, "I want a Batman series."
Yeah.
Hey, do you want a Joker spinoff series? I'd say, "I want a Batman series." In comics, there was the Joker, the man who won't stop laughing, a 12-issue series. That's really good. There was the Penguin series that Tom King just did. That was very good. There's a Penguin TV series that's very good. Sure. It's not one I'm like, I have to have this, but Matt Reeves is in charge of it. Why? So he was directly involved and created the Batman, which I loved. He gathered, the team, and then, he gathered the team and then stepped back for the Penguin, and it's great. So I don't see why this wouldn't be something to get invested in. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
The scooper says, to be fair, I'm not sure if this is a Joker series like the Penguin, but it's the Joker, or it's a series where the Joker, that Barry Keoghan's character, whatever state of Jokerism he's in at this point, is one of the characters who shows up at some point for some reason. I could see that. My only hesitation is I am one of those who I do not need to know the Joker's background, his backstory, or how he became a Joker. You know?
Yep.
Who he is, I don't want to know his name, none of that. So I would not want to see a Joker origins, the Joker origin story of the Batman Saga Joker. But again, creatives create, fans fan. If they come up with something, that would keep the mystery of the Joker there in a Joker series, okay, I'm going to be on board regardless.
Yeah.
I will also note that whatever the series is about, have Lauren LaFranc be the runner.
Yeah.
Because she's great with the Penguin.
And I think I forget Nolan's analogy of almost like how Heath's Joker was almost like Jaws. He did some kind of analogy with that. And I thought that was great and spot on. And it's not only because he said it. I do think a mysterious Joker makes him scarier. Like it just does. That what Denny O'Neil said a long time ago, basically, of like, you don't know if the Joker is going to give you $1 or shoot you in the face. And he could do one right after the other, and you have no idea. And it's like, that's the threat of him. And if Joker's included in a series, it's like what do I think? Again, I'm a fan, I'll fan. His backstory as a kid and growing up and how he became who he is, right? Like, gut tells me right now, like, I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is, I do think that Matt Reeves is inspired by Lee Bermejo. And I think, especially with this Joker, and I think obviously the Joker story from Bermejo and Brian Azzarello, that Joker is ugly, dirty, very threatening, and just psychotic. And I think pushing the Joker to that kind of extreme would totally fit in this world that Matt Reeves has created. And I think that's how he could also be different than what we've seen before. I don't like on screen, because even I've told you, this Ledger is my favorite Joker. I think he's very threatening. He was so engaging, and you loved watching him because he was so charismatic. And obviously Jack's Joker was Marshall Rogers' Joker. He was really funny and entertaining to watch, even though he did bad things. And it's like, what if we give somebody that is very disturbing to look at when he's on screen, and he's like a horror figure in a sense. And it's like, that would be different, and that'd be unsettling. And like, that could maybe work in this universe really well. So I wouldn't be invested in the biography of this Joker. I'd be interested in whatever the fallout from the Batman Part 2, how the Joker is just ramping up chaos and is inserting himself into a story uninvited. That to me would feel Joker-ish.
Yes.
I'm not a creator. Not a creator, though. Like, with you, they announce it. I'm there. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely open-minded to judge it however I want, or however I feel.
Also in this scoop, it was that Joker is supposed to be the villain of the Batman Part 3. And if that's the finale, that totally makes sense.
I think you and I mentioned in one of our many podcasts talking about
Yeah.
it. I think we I think landed there between us two, just talking of like, oh, don't make him the villain in the second one. Like, build up, because if Reeves wants to do his stamp on Batman, there's going to be a Batman versus Joker, which Joker seems like he's used to feel a little more special when he pop up into things, and it may feel like he's overused like right
Mm-hmm.
now. But as far as like live action Batman versus Joker, um, that was last time was 2008. That
Mm-hmm.
The Justice League movie was just a really stupid add-on scene.
Yeah.
That wasn't Batman versus Joker. It was just kind of like a garbage dialogue scene. Sorry, not sorry. So it's like we haven't had them clash on the big screen in a long time. So it'll be, if that's the finale to it, I look forward to that. But I'm
Yeah.
not
I
going to be
would
disappointed if it
say,
doesn't happen, because I wrote that in my head.
yeah. I would say by the time the Batman Part 3 comes out, it will be probably like 21, 22 years after the Dark Knight. Is
Yeah.
that's nuts, isn't it? To think
Why
that.
don't you just pump the brakes on that right now, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about that. Let that
I will
sink
be
in.
in my 40s then. Let's
Yeah.
just take a time out.
I mean, it's I mean, when you start, I can't wait. It's so long for it to get here. Well, look how long ago the Dark Knight was already. So it's just, yeah, it's crazy. So we'll see. We know we're
Yeah,
going to get a
we'll see.
series. Something's coming, and
I don't see how there won't be a series.
yeah, the only thing,
Not even saying Joker,
you
just like
know,
another series period. If Reeves,
yeah,
like we've heard a couple times now, we've been talking, and then this is like the success that Max HBO has with the Penguin. Why would like the Batman Part 2, knock on would have to tank horribly for them to not go like do a series?
yeah.
Um, and I don't see that happening. So I don't see
No,
why
I
they
think
wouldn't
it's
make
going to
another
be
series.
bigger. The Penguin uh, has retroactively brought the Batman into a lot of people's consciousness, meaning they didn't see the Batman, watched the Penguin, and said, "I'm gonna go see the Batman."
Mhm.
And in turn, I think the Penguin will also help build upon making, leading right into the Batman Part 2. I think Batman Part 2 will be bigger. I'm not, I wrote a like, could the Penguin help bring about, Batmania
Yeah.
4, I think. Yeah, 4 with the Batman Part 2. I don't know. Probably not. That's a happening. That's organic. But I
Hmm.
do think the Batman Part 2 will be bigger than box office wise than
Yeah.
Batman. And we'll see. We'll get a series. It'll be interesting. I only thing I would make me think that maybe the higher ups would be hesitant and would be like, well, Joker 2 just bombed, you know. So, but on the other hand,
It'll
David
be called the Batman.
Zaslav specifically mentioned the Penguin and how
Yeah.
successful it was, and the kind of like stuff they want to hang their hat on. I think there's probably enough goodwill that, okay, y'all, HBO, Matt Reeves,
Is that
you can do what you
kind of
want,
the only positive thing they got to talk about right now, right? That and
Yeah,
Beetlejuice.
yeah. And then, go back and bring up Barbie from what, a year plus ago. So anyway, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Good times,
Hmm.
good times to be a fan of Batman,
Yeah.
especially if you're digging the Batman saga, you need to relish all this. In my
It's
opinion,
good
that's my
stuff.
advice to people. Yeah, because like it'll be here and gone before you know it.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we're now, I mean, 12 years out from when the Nolan trilogy concluded
Yeah.
already. So I don't know. I know what to say with it. Let's ride.
There you go. All right. Anything you want to mention? Batman Book Club.
I'll
Viewing
mention
Batman.
Book Club.
The Batman comic book.
It is a thrill to get to experience the Long Halloween saga in real time for once, because when the original Long Halloween and Dark Victory came out, I didn't experience that until a couple years after they wrapped. So the last Halloween 2 issues are out. Both reviews are up on BOF. That just feels like really great classic Batman stuff to me. Podcast, the Batman Book Club, most recent episodes with Boudin Pockets talking the new Batman comics that came out in October, and then coming up soon we'll be dropping, this isn't the trigger Bill, but going to be dropping an episode talking Heart of Hush.
Oh, no. I like Heart of Hush.
I know, but it can send you down a path about Hush. But we're just gonna say Heart of Hush.
You want me to go down? I'm going down that rabbit hole.
No, we're trying to wrap this up. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. But yeah, that conversation's already recorded. Just needs edited, and yeah, that'll drop in the next couple days. And then Bill generously posts episodes of the Batman Book Club on BOF. So yeah, look forward to that. Revisit Heart of Hush. It's actually been a few years since I've read it, and that's a damn good story.
That's a
spoiler alert on the conversation. That's a damn good story.
Yeah, it's really good. I like that quite a bit. Paul Dini, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah. The man.
Yeah. All right. All I got is batman-on-film.com. I will remind you, check out our podcast on the social hour of the Penguin. That's been basically what the social hour has been.
Yeah.
Since the Penguin debuted back in September. This is kind of an outlier episode, but we did talk about the Penguin quite a bit in this episode.
Can I interrupt?
And yeah,
you and I check out Batman Animation.
Yes,
because we wrapped Caped Crusader, but then you and I also talked. Speaking of Joker, we talked The Laughing Fish on the most recent one of those. That was a good conversation, and you said you hadn't watched that in a long time. So
it'd been Speaking of like 20 plus years since.
Yeah.
This was one of those. May have been 20 plus years plus since. So
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Announcer Rachel will finish up here. We will catch you next time.
You have been listening to the BOF Social Hour, Jett's official podcast on Batman on Film. Follow BOF on Threads at The Batman on Film. Follow BOF on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Batman on Film. To help keep BOF up and running, go to patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm, or you can buy BOF a beer at buymeacoffee.com/TheRealBatmanOnFilm. For Jett and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original, Batman on Film, founded in 1998.